Victorians stuck in New South Wales finally have a chance to return home with a home quarantine trial about to begin. But not everyone qualifies. Keith and Nikki Perkin have been stranded for 2 months after travelling to northern New South Wales to care for Keith's elderly father. They're fully vaccinated, they live in regional Victoria, and if granted an exemption, they could drive straight home from the border. Keith and Nikki join us now from Nambucca Heads in New South Wales, as well as Cross-Border Commissioner James McTavish. Nice to see all of you this morning. Keith, if I can just go to you first, just explain to us how tough it's been.
Oh, good morning, Ali. Yes, we left Victoria on the 7th of July, and at that stage the Victorian Government classified regional New South Wales as an orange zone. We travelled directly to Nambucca Heads, where my elderly father lives, and provided care and support to him. On the 29th of July we were second vaccinated in Coffs Harbour, and on the 30th of July we applied to return home. During that process you have to nominate an intended travel date. We heard nothing to that first application until 10 days later, when we were advised that our intended travel date had passed, therefore our case was closed. We're therefore back to square one. We tried again and again, and yesterday we lodged our 4th application, and we're still no closer to getting home. Other people perhaps travelled where they could in camper vans, etc., to the border. We chose not to do that. Yesterday's announcements look after the people in the border bubble who've been there for 14 days, but we've been here for nearly 2 months, and those new changes do nothing for us.
Yeah, right. I mean, this is the drama with it all, isn't it? And James, if I can go to you here, because here you've got Keith and Nikki. They live somewhere where there's no COVID. Right now they're staying somewhere where there's no COVID. Why don't they meet the requirements to home quarantine in Victoria?
Well, we were pretty pleased yesterday that the Victorian Government has allowed a couple of hundred people who are in that border region to go home and to do that home quarantine at home. But the situation that's been described is not unique. There are hundreds of people that are in that same circumstance on the Victorian and Queensland and South Australian borders. We'd like for there to be greater consideration for those people to be able to do their quarantine at home. The best place for them to be is at home, and the best place for them to do their quarantine is in the safest place, which is at home. Most of these people, are of pretty modest means. That they can't afford a couple of weeks in hotel quarantine, and for some of them, they can't afford to fly from Sydney to Brisbane, for example, or from Sydney to Melbourne. So we'd like there to be greater consideration of the needs for these people and for them to be able to go home, because that's where they should be. Yeah,
look, I mean, as you say, too many people fall through the cracks with this. It's great that they're now trialling this. So in your mind, James, is it just a little bit too limiting?
Well, look, it's a good first step, and it does address the needs for a couple of hundred people that are sitting down on the Murray and down on the South Coast now. But there's thousands of people we anticipate that are impacted by not only the restrictions for Victoria, but also for Queensland and South Australia. We're hoping that arrangements are put in place to allow them to get home pretty quickly. We're seeing a lot of these people are vaccinated, they are happy to be tested, they are happy to do quarantine at home, and they are happy to go home when the government is able to allow them to do so. But every day that they're sitting in their caravan or their tent or sleeping in their car is a day that's, for us, is not entirely acceptable. They should be at home.
Hey, Nikki, how desperate are you to get home?
Oh, very. I mean, the frustration of the whole application process, having to move medical appointments, missing grandkids' birthdays and so on and so forth. We're very keen to get home to our, we've ended up feeling like criminals, that we're trying to do the right thing, apply to go home, cross the border and just go home to our house in Fairhaven. But it's not as easy as that.
Should be though, shouldn't it? Look, hopefully this trial gets expanded and we can get you home soon. We really appreciate you joining us this morning. Take care. Thank you.
Gee, she perfectly summed it up. She feels like a criminal. That's been awful, hasn't it? Well